Hey, it's Filter Free Friday, y'all. Listen, I am so glad you're here. Um, I was in a meeting earlier this week, and my colleague said, I think the problem is we think we have to build trust. Um, I think trust is just there when people meet, and then something happens to break trust. And I think our problem is that we are focused on building trust instead of focusing on not breaking trust. And I understood what she was saying, but I also had to just say, hey, hold on just a second. There have been times when I have been in a room and somebody just rubs me the wrong way or I rub them the wrong way. There's nothing that has been done necessarily to break trust. And I believe that our experiences help to craft kind of who we are and how we show up in the world. And when I was working in engineering, I was good at science and math. I liked the work. I got great outcomes. Cost, quality, and service were the targets. And I am not an engineer by personality type, right? I like to hang out in the nuance. I don't think that we solve for most cases. I think we should solve for edge cases, and then most cases are taken care of. I am often, my number one value is humor. What the overlap is in terms of values are things like competence, right? I care about people being competent. That's a big overlap between me and other engineers. I care about being smart. That is important to me. Not my number one values, but I like a really smart person. But I also value justice. And I found myself oftentimes in spaces with other engineers where justice wasn't necessarily the number one thing people were concerned about. It was really just, how can we get the most parts out with the least impact to the most number of people? It's the reason why we can build data centers that generate heat. And instead of trying to figure out how to turn that heat into energy, we are using water to cool them down. A person who is concerned about justice is going to figure out how you don't have to use water, um, if you live in any place that has droughts in the summer, water is not a commodity that we can run out of water. So anyway, I to this day, even though I've worked in the field of engineer for probably a decade, I've been out of any kind of manufacturing facility or any kind of research lab for far longer, at least 15 years. And when people find out I'm an engineer, they are excited, right? They are like, "Oh my gosh." And what I believe God does for us sometimes is says that something can be good, but that does not mean that because something is good, that means it is good for you or that it is aligned to your values or what you need to do. And I think I struggle with this as it relates to relationships sometimes. A person can be amazing. They can be good. There can be nothing wrong with them that's not uniquely wrong with all of us. And yet, it's not the thing I should be doing. Like, I don't believe anybody would say that there's something wrong with the job of engineering. It is the reason why our planes leave on time. It's the reason why our planes can leave. It's the reason why you can get chicken at the grocery store and you ain't got to grow your own chickens. It's the reason why I can have this shirt and not just like five anymore because people have to make them. Nobody's going to say that being an engineer is bad, but being an engineer is bad for me. You know why? Because I got a mouthpiece. That is my gift and my skill. You know why? Because I'm hilarious and I like to lead with that. You know why? Because I care about justice and I'm going to speak up when something is not right almost always. And I struggle sometimes, if I'm being honest, because when somebody messes with your reality and tries to tell you that you are something you aren't, it can be disorienting. And so, in those instances when I'm twisting and bending and turning and trying to show up with the personality of people who are more engineering like, and somebody gets surprised when I tell them I'm an engineer, that's kind of messing with your reality because there were times when I would have my badge hanging on my pants when I would go to the grocery store after I'd leave work and I would just say, people be like, "Oh, you work at this large company." And I'd say, yeah, and I would just tell people I wrote the cards when they asked me what I did there, because I didn't want to have the conversation about, "Oh, you're an engineer? What does an engineer do at Hallmark?" or whatever. I didn't want to have that conversation. But at the core of it is, you know who you are. You know who you are. You know how you show up in the world. And because somebody values family or values loyalty or values black and white, it doesn't mean they're wrong. but it means that there's probably a challenge when you maybe your family situation is complicated. And maybe you value connections outside of that. Or maybe, yeah, you value loyalty, but you value justice and niceness and kindness more. And so if are you loyal if somebody is not kind, if somebody is mean, if somebody is harmful to other people, doesn't think that other people deserve rights, like, does it mean that they're wrong? And I think one of the things that I'm really trying to work on right now is hatefulness is winning because hatefulness can figure out how to come together around things that they disagree with, right? But those of us who are trying to build something more beautiful in the world, I find myself becoming a person who creates a really narrow bridge where there's not room for people to get on if they are if they are mean and hateful, right? Like that's kind of like part of it. Welcome. But the what I in essence am trying to say is today I'm going to make a real big decision. And the reason I'm going to be able to make that decision is because I've thought very clearly about my values and what I want to do. And it is guiding me to make the decision that I think is right. Although many people might look at it and say, that ain't, I don't know why she doing that. But what I'm going to leave you with here today is that empathy cannot sit on a bed of hypocrisy. If you say you want something for yourself, you got to give that to other people. You know, I don't have, I love God's people. There's not a whole bunch of people I don't like, but there are two people that I just cannot stand. I'm working on it, but there got two people I just cannot stand. And both of these people, when it gets to the heart of it, why I can't stand them is because I wanted to be friends. I wanted to be lovers or one of the two for both of them. and they lied. And you know what the Lord showed me this week? The Lord showed me this week that I lie too. And that when I lie, I hurt people. And when I hurt people, they respond that they don't like me either. And I'm telling you that because sometimes we can be really firm in our beliefs about something. We can protest so deeply about something, and we are that something. And so, sugar, two things: stand firmly in your values and who you are. And if something don't work with that, it don't work with that, period. But also, as you are standing super firm in your values and you up on your soapbox, just know that sometimes the thing you poking at is the thing you are, is the thing you are. And that lesson came to me pretty clearly this week, and I wanted to share it with y'all. And I just say, pray, because I'm making a decision that I don't know if it's, I'm not gonna say I don't know it's the right one. I know that there are probably going to be consequences, but it's fitting in solidly with my values. I think you should do the same. I learned this from being an engineer when I walked away from a job I loved because it just wasn't in alignment with who I am. And God wanted me to get off that bus stop because this right now is what I should be doing. And I think you should be asking yourself that same question too, because I believe that more people will be better because of it. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. We got work to do.